What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide, back with day 15 of the 31 Days of Horror 2022 edition. We're going to continue rolling on with another film that is actually one I've seen many times, countless times. I love this movie. It's on a double pack here with Jason X, and that film is Freddy vs. Jason, directed by Riki-oh, who of course previously directed Bride of Chucky. I think Bride of Chucky is a not bad film at all. I actually like that movie quite a bit. I think it's the last good Chucky sequel. I mean, as they progress, like, they get more and more, like, you know, they stray from the original. Obviously, that always happens in these franchises, but I find that Seed is, like, bad, but, like, in a shitty good way, you know? Like, I put it on recently, well, not recently, maybe in the last 2 years. Me and Kayla watched it, and we actually, like, laughed our asses off the whole time, so definitely, you know, you can say what you want about Seed of Chucky, but it's definitely, it's a spectacle. Okay, we'll leave it at that. But Freddy vs. Jason, this is like the first horror film that I have memories of seeing in the theater. I went with my cousin, I went with his mom, my aunt, and we sat down and watched Freddy vs. Jason, something that was in the air for years. I think like they first started talking about a Freddy vs. Jason film like all the way back in the early 90s, what with the end of Jason Goes to Hell, which may or may not be the Jason that I've seen the most growing up, because I remember my cousin had it, and he had like tons of movies, like tons of good films on tape and stuff, and all the Jason films, but definitely Jason Goes to Hell. I fucking hate that movie now. I can't even watch it, but that sort of sparked the whole Freddy versus Jason thing at the end, like the claw coming up, grabbing Jason's mask. People back then were probably shitting their pants, you know what I mean? Like, even if they sat through the film, loved it or hated it, they were like, damn, Freddy and Jason, like, in the same world, like, does it really work? I mean, they work, like, they met in hell. Like, I love how in the beginning of this film, Freddy's like, I had to search the bounds of hell. Like, I can, like, imagine him with, like, a fucking, you know how those hobos would have, like, a bandana tied to a stick with all their shit, like, you know, over their shoulder, going from train to train. Like, Freddy's going around looking for Jason fucking far and wide. But I kind of like that idea that, like, they met in hell, and Freddy's using him as, like, a tool in order to install fear back into the children of Elm Street. You know, and one thing that fucking always got me in this film, like, Freddy gives a bit of a description of his own backstory, and he's like, dozens of children would fall to my blade. Like, you killed dozens of children, and you fucking, oh my god, like, that's just twisted. Like, killing, like a child killer, you know. And like later on in the remake, they like made him into like a molester, but like, I think a child killer is more honorable than a child molester. You know what? If that sounds completely fucking twisted, whatever, but that's just the way I feel about it. So, of course, Freddy brings Jason back from hell and sends him to Elm Street, where we meet a fucking bunch of disposable characters that are range from cringe to legendary, okay? And what I mean by that is, the one kid, so basically we'll set it up like this. There's scenes in this film that I absolutely love, and there's scenes that I fucking hate. So, or not scenes that I hate, characters that I hate. I actually don't mind any of the scenes, really. But some of the characters are just so like, the main girl, I hate her. I fucking hate the way she delivers her lines. Kelly Rowland, bleh. The girl from Ginger Snaps, she's okay. The asshole boyfriend that gets, like, folded in half on the bed, he's, like, one of my favorite characters in the film, because, oh man, he's just an asshole. And it's like I don't understand how, like this chick is just, like they go for the fucking most dumbest ape motherfuckers in the planet. And this guy's like, yeah, what did I tell you about kissing me after you smoke? And then she's like, they're menthols. And then he's like later on after they're done fucking, he's like, go wash your hair, it smells like menthols or some shit, you know, and like, don't make me ask you twice and all that stuff. And like, his friend is like this dipshit guy that's trying to bang, Lori is her name. And even like Lori's dad is like a character in his own, where he's like, just drink your juice. Like, come on, with the fucking hypnosil in it. Like, no thank you. Yeah, I liked John Ritter's kid in the film. I thought he was okay. His buddy I liked better, though. Like, the one that his brother had committed suicide. His brother was the bully from Christmas Story. Like, when it shows him later on, like, in the tub. Like, I think that might be one of the scariest parts of that film for me. Like, you gotta understand, I was like 9 years old when I saw this movie, and I hadn't I'd watched horror films and stuff, but they weren't so slick and stylish, and I feel like the slick and stylishness of it made me feel like it was more scary than it was. But now when I go back and watch older films, like if I watch a movie from, like, let's just say Hellraiser, for instance, like, everything's dirty and dusty, and then you watch like a film like Freddy vs. Jason where everything's very polished. Like, it's a totally different feeling. I don't know if you know what I mean, but I definitely get, as I get older, I can't believe how I could have thought this shit was scary. But that bathtub scene, that is kind of twisted, man. Like, the guy coming out of the pool of blood and all that stuff. And I like the guy. It's kind of a piss off in a way, though, because like that guy, like I forget what his name. I think his name's Mark. So Mark, the guy whose brother committed suicide, is like totally, knows about Freddy, knows the lore, all that stuff, and him and his friend, they've been institutionalized and they've been fed this drug that makes them stop dreaming. And basically they need to go and get some of this hypnosil in order to stop dreaming. At the same time, battle Jason. There's a really good scene that is at a rave out in a cornfield, which is like awesome. I love, there's like this fat dude and this other guy, and they're like fucking just drinking booze and smoking dope, like in the back or whatever. Jason comes up and they just take a look at him and they're like, this is a rave, not a Halloween party. Like, all that shit that they say, and then he throws the flaming machete through this fucking guy's chest, and it's not a great film, but I mean, I watched it when I was a kid, and a lot of the stuff that I watched when I was a kid, I just have a soft spot for, man. Like, one of my favorites from when I was a kid that like came out when I was a kid, Jeepers Creepers, man. I think that movie is so fucked up. I loved how scared it made me. And that may be even one of the films, among many other, that kind of sparked this obsession with horror films. Because, like, with Jeepers Creepers, not to, like, go on a fucking tangent, but I'm about to go on a tangent. That scene where they're driving down the highway, they get attacked, and then later on, they look to the left, and there that guy is, pouring the bodies, and then he just stops and, like, watches them. Like, I always thought that was going to happen to me, man. I don't know why, but... to talk about some of my favorite kills in Freddy vs. Jason, I definitely have to mention, that guy that's like smoking dope, and then that fucking, like Freddy Worm came out. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's cool. But like, when I watch it now, I'm like, dude, they could have done something way cooler with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it could have been better. But there is that scene there is a moment in that scene where Freebird, like the stoner character, is walking through, that area where all the beds are and all the patients, and like they all have the thing covering their eyes, and one guy comes up and his eyes are covered in blood. Always thought that was freaky. I thought that little girl was freaky that had like her eyes ripped out at the beginning of the film when Laurie's like in the police station. I forget the guy's name, but the one dude that was in Scary Movie is in this film as a police officer. Officer Stubbs. Yeah, man. The actual like fight between Freddy versus Jason, I thought was pretty good. The scene where like Jason's having a dream and Freddy's like fucking with him and he's like doing the pinball thing, like I didn't think that was needed. But at the same time, you know what? It is a Freddy sequel, a Jason sequel. Even though the Jason sequels aren't as goofy as the Freddy ones because Jason can't talk. I'm sure if Jason talked, it'd be like full of, welcome to camp or whatever the fuck, right? Much recommended film to watch, though, if you're a fan of horror films. Like this is like the type of shit. Like, this isn't the first time we saw something like this. Like, we saw movies like Frankenstein Meets the Werewolf, all those team up films with Abbott and Costello and all them. Like, they're like the monsters. This isn't the first time monsters met in a film, and that's what I'm saying. Godzilla vs. King Kong is a good example. 1964, I believe. Yeah, there's a slew of this type of stuff, and I know that there was like talks, like there's comic books of like Ash versus Freddy versus Jason and so on and so forth. And like there was talks of having like a Michael Myers versus, I think, Pinhead film, which I don't know how the fuck that's gonna work, but yeah, I'm glad that kind of didn't come to fruition. I still haven't seen that new Hellraiser film. It's not like a total priority for me to see that like immediately, but I definitely want to check that shit out for sure. And yeah, man, so that'll do it for day 15, 31 Days of Horror 2022 edition. Make sure you leave a 666 in the comments. I appreciate everybody for watching. And with that being said, adios. Oh, my favorite line in this film, by the way, is, I'm dead one day, you're already out getting shit-faced. Same old, get out.